throwback jams.
Hello, everyone. How you doing on this Tuesday evening? This is the African Queen, and you are listening to Taboo Talk on Power Plug Radio. You can find us on Amazon Alexa. You can find us on the iTunes Store, the Google Play Store. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and you can find us on YouTube. And then you can also go to www.powerplugradio.com and listen to us 24/7. Thank you for joining us tonight. It's been a minute. We were gone for a few weeks. Had to do stuff, but we are back. And tonight we're going to talk about the verdict. And as we know, the verdict came in the George Floyd case, and he was found guilty on all charges. So we're going to talk about that, but we're also going to talk about, is it wrong to be good with that verdict? Is it wrong to be happy? Is it wrong to celebrate? And to help me talk about this tonight is one of my favorite people in the world. And I want to say hello to the Velvet Missionary. How you doing?
Hello. I am fabulous. I'm so happy to be here on this auspicious occasion. And I also want to say happy 420.
That's right.
To all the people across the lands.
Please, come on. We got
a guilty verdict and we got folks with it
right
today.
All on the same day. So, it was. I immediately thought about you, and because this was not supposed to be the subject tonight, but I immediately thought about you and was like, okay, the perfect person to have on this show for us to talk about not just this verdict tonight, but what we as Black and brown people have dealt with throughout history when it comes to things like this. And one of the first things that came to mind was the O.J. Simpson case. And I remember when O.J. was found not guilty, Black people all over the country was like, Yes. And I remember my friend was like, you don't feel bad about saying that? And I was like, well, and she was like, well, do you think he's guilty? I was like, oh yeah, I think he did it. I said, but you don't understand. For years, y'all have gotten off on killing us. Mm-hmm. You know, and it, you know,
that part,
you know, it's like, I can just name people. Look at all of these lynching memorials that they're being put up all over the country where y'all just came and ripped people up out their bed and their family never saw them again. Look at Emmett Till. And that woman lied, and she's even come out and said she lied and still wasn't nothing done to her, even though it was all these years later. So, you know, when OJ happened, I know I took off from work to wait for that verdict, and it was me and the dude I was dating at the time. And when they said not guilty, it was a party. Mm. You know, I mean, so how do you remember you feeling about the OJ thing?
Well, with OJ, I really thought he did the shit, just to be honest. I really thought he did it. But hell, white people been getting away with stuff since the beginning of time. So why I don't condone anybody killing anybody. I don't know if he personally did it. But I believe that he may have arranged it.
Oh yeah. He had something to do with it. Yes, he did. You know, and but let's talk about George Floyd. We're not even to a year since it happened, because it happened last May. And some, you know, and his murder, because that's what it was, sparked a movement. It was marches like it hadn't been since back in the day during the civil rights, and it was a lot of attention brought to the death of George Floyd, but also all of the other deaths, and it was a hard time because all of this was going on at the beginning of the, you know, and then you had the pandemic, and you know, it was just everything. And a lot of us have been sitting back listening to this trial and saying, is the right thing going to be done? You know, are they going to find this man guilty? Because I couldn't listen to it every day, but the times that I did listen to it, I was like, if they don't find him guilty, it's something wrong. Mm-hmm. You know, it's something wrong. I think one of the biggest parts that impacted me was when they were when they had the little, I believe it was a little young girl. She couldn't have been no older than like maybe 11, and she was there.
She testified.
And she testified about when the paramedics got there, and how when the paramedics first got on the scene, they asked the police officer to get up. And he wouldn't. And she said, and they asked that little girl, they said, well, what happened next? And that little girl said, well, they had to push him off of him. And he wasn't breathing. Mm-hmm. You know, that little girl, along with all of those other people, stood there and watched the life drain out of that man. And the cocky look that was on that man's face, because he's not even a police officer anymore. And I won't say his name.
Oh, I'm gonna say his name.
He don't get that.
I'm gonna say his name.
Boy, that's what he gonna get.
And a lot of people in prison gonna say his name.
Oh yeah, a lot of them. Yeah, you know, but it hit me in my chest. You know, and at that point, I was like, oh yeah, they need to put him all the way up under the jail. But there was still a little bit in me that felt like it wasn't gonna happen.
Yes, even today, with all of the the prosecution, the state attorney, the attorney general, and his team, they did a stellar job. I mean, there was no way you could watch the video, all the expert testimony. I mean, the chief of police. I mean, police officers usually don't testify against police officers. Yeah. The compelling witnesses that they had, even with all of that, because of the collective experience that black people have had in this country, there was still a part of us that would be like, you know what? You know, we done been here before. We've seen this movie.
And I know the end already.
And with everything to prove this man guilty, there was still a part of me that was like, you know what? I'm not gonna celebrate just yet, because this is America.
Yep.
And black people have been screwed by the criminal justice system repeatedly, constantly.
Yep. And it's disappointing that, you know, murderers get off all the time. We know that. We know that there's innocent people in jail, and there's people who murdered people and they're not in jail.
You know what's funny? You have people that have gone to prison for 15, 20 years or more for drug charges.
Yep.
And they had a greater chance of being convicted and going to prison than Chauvin did.
Yeah.
And granted, a lot of those folks, there was circumstantial evidence.
But it was open and shut. Open and shut. And then they catch them. You know, oh, this your third offense? Oh, you getting the max. You know. But what do we do? How do we move forward? I remember that the anger that I felt when Zimmerman got off. And I just, you know, that right there was like a gut punch. My son had just gotten out of the military. He was young. You know, my nephew was just a little bit younger than Trayvon Martin, and that man got off. You know, and yeah, he wasn't a cop. He was a play cop. He thought he was one. You know, but that angered me, and then it just kept happening. It kept happening. You had Sandra Bland. We still don't know what happened with her.
Oh, we know what happened.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's never going to be official. You know, it just kept happening, and then, you know, we can just name them one after another. Now we have the young boy, 13, who was shot.
After they told him to drop the weapon. He did what they told him, and they shot him anyway. And that brought back memories of the little boy in Cleveland. Why can't I think of his name? The one who was at the park. He had the toy gun. And he was running away.
Didn't. No.
Oh, he didn't run, but it was a toy gun. I forgot the little boy's name.
I can't remember his name. It'll come to me. You know, and what happened with him was he was playing. And the crazy part is, I used to take my son to that park. You know, the crazy part is, I lived right down the street from that park back in the day when I lived in Cleveland. And, you know,
it don't change.
It ain't changed. It didn't. The cops were just, no, it didn't change. The little boy was, it's in the middle of a black neighborhood right across the street from the MLK Center. And he was doing what he was playing with a little toy gun across the street from, I think it was his grandma's house. I don't think it was his house. And between the time they pulled up on him and they shot him, it was 6 seconds. 6 seconds. So when I saw the video, you could see, because they ended up finding, I don't know if you saw the other video that they found from a house that was across the field. So you see him, you see the young man, the 13-year-old, he throws the gun away, he puts his hands up, and he turns around. And they shoot him. It wasn't even 6 seconds. He was 13. Yeah, he had a gun. But that boy who killed all the black people in the church had a gun. They took his ass to Burger King before they took him to jail.
Combo.
Okay, before they took him to jail.
Got him a whole Whopper value meal.
But you can't give this little 13-year-old. You can't give the 13-year-old the chance to say, you know.
Is that a caller?
So we have a caller.
Yes.
Hello, caller. You introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Philip Haywood. I am one of the co-hosts for the Man Cave.
Hello.
What's up, Phil?
Hey, how y'all doing? And by the way, I'm a former Minneapolis resident as well. I lived there for like 4 years. And, you know, with what happened today, it was there was a lot of evidence that was thrown at the jury, meaning the 9 minutes and 29 seconds, and they couldn't help but to look at that. That's all they needed to look at. They didn't need to see or hear anything else. And I think that the media maybe had oversensitized that, but once you saw it, you saw it. There was nothing else that you could say or nothing else you could do to make you think otherwise, because you saw it with your own eyes. And I think from a jury's perspective, they saw it with their own eyes, and they listened to some very credible witnesses or experts, mind you, the police chief, a police lieutenant, and about 40 other people. Yeah. So they really had, the jury had a lot to go on.
So let me ask you both something though. Do you think that with the fact that historically that this police chief, and they said one of the longest serving officer in that I
think it was the lieutenant.
He was the longest serving.
Yeah, it was the lieutenant.
And then the captain and all of the other ones. Do you think because they stood up and did what was right, do you think you're going to see a change that will be triggered in our country for other police departments?
Well, what I think is that within any police department or any law enforcement agency, there is a code of conduct or a code of truth that they live by. Whether I ain't gonna say whether you black or white, but I'm gonna point this out as well. When Fernando Castile was cold-blooded murdered in the street, Geronimo Yanez was acquitted. That was stupid right there. Okay, he was acquitted. When Mohammed Noor shot across his partner in a cruiser, the bullet went through the door and struck Justine Damon in the stomach and killed her. And guess what they did? They expeditiously convicted him. Right or wrong? Right or wrong? Hello?
I said right.
Okay. The color of his skin was brown. Mm-hmm. Now, with Derek Chauvin, they didn't have no choice because the evidence was plain, clear, and simple. But I think it's a code that law enforcement officers go by. They stick by each other, whether they right or whether they wrong. They're not going to always publicly come out. But that right there, the chief and the lieutenant, they knew that was not a part of their training, right. And they couldn't go for that. They could not go. Go ahead.
You have to also realize the political ramifications of something like this that happened. Right. This drew so much attention from across the country,
the world. Actually,
everybody was looking at this. Mm-hmm. Everybody had a opinion or comment on this. So with all that scrutiny on this case, they had to do it by the book. They had to get him.
Yes.
So
yes, they had to. Yeah.
Okay, so they had to get him. But are you saying that? Okay, all right. Is this a case of all right, y'all? Here you go. You happy now?
No, we ain't happy.
Right, but I'm saying
we ain't happy. We ain't happy because
it shouldn't have happened.
We ain't happy, right? Because it shouldn't have happened. And number two, all that fortress that they built in downtown Minneapolis, they need to leave that up because it's round two.
Yeah.
Because the
verdict is the verdict is going to be the next one. I'm sorry, not the verdict.
And then you got Dante.
Yeah, and then
they got Dante. Right, that's round two. That's round two.
So we ain't even out of round one because if the sentencing don't go the way we want it to go, it's going to be a problem.
It might be something.
But they say it's going to be about 2 months before they can get to that because of the backlog.
Now let me ask you guys on 3 counts. 1 count carry a max of 40. The other count 2 carries a 25 max. Count 3 carries a max of 10, along with possibly a $20,000 fine. What do y'all think is fair?
I think he needs to get the max on each count. He not only I don't feel sorry for him, but he's not only going to pay for his sins, he's going to pay for the sins of other people, other officers who have done the exact same thing and gotten away. This is their reckoning. Yeah. So he's going to pay the price. He's going to be the sacrificial lamb.
Now, what I was saying earlier, I was listening to a lawyer and I didn't quite understand what he was saying, but what I did hear, he was saying that of the 3 convictions, he can only be sentenced for the one with the highest. So if the charge number 1, which was murder in the second, is a 40 years, then the max he can get is 40. But so the judge can go under 40, but he can't go over 40.
Well, I tell you this, and I want both of y'all to think about this. The key point here is this guy never took the stand, never said he was sorry or even looked remorseful. Nope, that is going to play a part in it as well.
Well, it would have been stupid for him to take the stand.
He did plead the fifth.
Yeah, it would have been stupid for him to get up there. He would have been eviscerated.
Yeah, true. Now, but he didn't say he was here. He didn't say he was sorry. He didn't show no remorse. So I believe he's going to get a minimum of 25. He might get 30 because that was heinous.
I mean, but at his age,
how old is Show?
He's
45
40 something. So if he gets 25, so like if he's 40, he get 25, he's gonna be 65. You know, I mean, he's probably going to live the rest of his life in there because it's not going to be healthy.
If he make it out, or if he makes it out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because it ain't going to be healthy.
He might wind up like Weinstein.
Yeah, or
he might kill him. He might kill himself, and plus he's not gonna.
I don't think Weinstein killed him. Not Weinstein.
What was his name? Not Weinstein. What was his name? The one that was finna snitch on everybody.
Oh goodness! What was his name? Jeffrey was his Epstein.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Epstein killed himself.
Yeah, that might be the
But he's gonna end up like what was the person who went in there and was dead within months? The man who had all of the women kidnapped in his basement in Ohio. And,
yeah.
Yes, he's gonna end up like that.
You know, yeah. He gonna end up like that, or somebody gonna rape him.
Oh yeah, he gonna.
Well, he gonna have to get protective custody.
He gotta go to.
They're gonna. Being an ex-officer, he is going to be in solitary, which will just drive him crazy.
Yeah,
you know.
Right. Yeah, he's gonna go to solitary, and he's gonna go. I'm almost certain they've got a prison here in the United States or prisons that house nothing but ex-law enforcement officers.
They need to get his pension. They need to get everything. He don't need to be left.
He lost that.
No. I don't think he lost his pension because they don't have a rule set up in Minnesota. Why you think that Kim, whatever her name was, Kim Potter, she resigned, and that automatically with her time in grade or her time in service, she's eligible for her pension and she can get it. They can't take that from her.
But he didn't resign.
No,
he was fired.
He was fired. So he loses his pension.
I thought he retired.
No.
Well, I don't know if they gave him the option. I thought they fired him.
I thought.
But, he probably was at the length of service that he had.
I mean, because they said he was close to retirement.
Yeah. But then did the wife leave him?
Yeah, she left him. Today.
Protect herself.
Yeah, today I went to get. I had to had some issues with my phone, and the guy that was helping me at T-Mobile, come to find out, we started talking, and he just moved from Minnesota maybe a year or two ago. He said he got stopped by old boy. He said everything that they say about him, he said it's the cold-blooded truth. He said he a dirty, nasty cop, and he had been in a bunch of other skirmishes and dust-ups where he's been involved in shootings and all kinds of things. And I almost believe that this guy may have been a part of the KKK.
Hey, look, think about something though. Look at the way think about that look he had on his face.
Very sinister.
When he had his knee on his neck.
It was like he was like a crazy person.
But he also had this like, it was almost like a smirk.
He was relishing killing that man.
Yeah.
The
paramedics, first of all, for an off-duty fireman who is saying to you, let me help him, he is not breathing, there's something wrong, and you ignore her. But then the paramedics who were coming said, okay, I need you to get up off of him so we can tend to him, and you still don't get off, where they have to forcefully push you off.
That
of
man,
this
he was
man.
in a total. He was in a. He was in
he
another headspace.
It was almost like it was giving him something. He was.
He had them zoned out.
He was all up in his pleasure points. Right.
Yeah, he was. He was.
So I hope. I really
he
hope,
was in another world.
Yes.
I really hope that when he goes to prison, I really hope there's an incident where even though we know he'll go to solitary, with some kind of way.
Oh, they always find a way.
Some kind of way.
They find a way.
He'll some kind of way. Some of the other residents of that facility will get to him, and I don't want him to kill him.
No,
I don't want him to die. I want him to live every
slow torture.
Moment. But I want somebody to the look he had on his face when they read the verdict.
Man, yeah.
I want him to look just like that.
Yeah. And I need him to know for every single day.
I don't think he really thought he was going to be convicted.
No, he didn't. No.
You know what? I felt the same. Yeah, he thought he was going to get away, didn't he?
He thought that argument that his lawyers putting all of the blame on the victim. Oh, it was his health. Oh, it was his size. It was because he was opioid addiction. He thought all those things that the people was gonna say, oh yeah, well he is a big man, and oh yeah, he was big enough to fear for his life and everything.
Yeah, he was intimidated by his stature.
That's true. But we want to say thank you so much for calling in.
Mm-hmm.
Glad you called in.
Man cave.
Yeah.
What y'all got going this week,
I know, right? You know what? We're gonna be a little bit on this, and Thursday night I might talk about. I got something. A milestone is coming up in my life. I've been clean and sober for 30 years.
Congratulations.
All right.
I was out there smoking dope, snorting it, smoking weed, drinking, doing all of that. And I simply came to a crossroads.
And you do need to talk about that.
That's awesome. That's
congratulations.
Awesome.
Thank you. I am going to talk about it. I tell everybody I don't brag about it, but how many people, because we in our race as an African American, we've all got alcoholics and drug addicts in our family.
Yes, we do.
Some of them got off it. Some of them stayed on it, and it even killed some of them. So I'm going to talk about that, but we're going to talk about this and just a lot of other things that's going on in our city.
Well, we're going to listen in.
Okay.
I appreciate it on Thursday.
All right. It was, you know what? It was really a pleasure chatting with y'all, chatting on another show for a change.
I know that's right, man. You got to come by the spill too sometime.
Right?
Okay. I will. I'll do that.
All right. Peace out. Talk to you later.
All right.
So, one of the things that I do want to talk about really quick, though, is how we feel about all of this. So how did you feel when you first heard about George Floyd?
It was like, for me, not again. Not again. And it happens so much. It's like, I hate to say it, you almost get numb to it. Because it happens so much. And it's in what oftentimes many of us don't think about. Every time something like this happens, it's a trauma that is revisited upon us.
Yes.
It took me back to when I was a child, and I remember riding in the car with my grandfather, and we got stopped by the police. And I remember him saying, that's why I learned early, be still keep your hands where they can see them.
Yeah.
Don't make any movements. Be respectful. You know, and it's a shame that we have to do all those things just to stay alive. And what we're clearly seeing that doesn't even guarantee you survival.
Nope.
But I remember the outrage. I remember the anger I could see on his face. And that was, and I didn't know what trauma was then, but that was traumatic. I recall experiences. Even now, when a police officer gets behind me, there's a part of me that gets a little nervous.
Right.
Even though I know I'm not doing anything wrong. You know, I go to calling on the name of God. Okay, God, I need you to rebuke the enemy. I be all in prayer in the car.
Right. They showed a video during the verdict today, and they were talking about having the talk. You know how black people have to have the talk with their kids, and this one man was there sitting with his daughter. She was the cutest little thing. She was about 7, and he said, "Show them what we talk about." And this little 7-year-old girl, she put her arms up and she said, "My name is such and such. I'm 7 years old. I have no weapons. I can't hurt you." She's 7, and her family has to teach her this. You know, we don't have to talk when our kids start driving. We had to talk when they started walking. You know, and it's a shame. It hurts that we have to do this. It makes me, I get mad. I got mad when I heard about George Floyd. I get mad when I hear about all of them. And then the next thing is, you know, they ain't gonna find the man guilty. I was surprised when they fired him and they arrested him. You know, I didn't think that it was even gonna go that far. You know, look at Breonna Taylor.
Yeah, but you got to look at the like I said, the attention this guy
that it got. Yeah,
there was so much attention on this case that they could not, because I'm sure they were looking for a way to get him out from under this. There was no way. You committed a murder in broad daylight, and it was captured.
Yeah,
the whole incident was captured.
And did you see how they turned on that girl, the young black girl, trying to make it seem like, oh, she was just trying to get her 5 minutes of fame on the internet, but this girl just sat up there and said that she cries it every night.
Well, that was the white propaganda machine. That's what they're gonna do. They immediately started. They wanted to bring up George Floyd's past. They would immediately want to make him the villain. Anybody that was there that could give credence to what happened, they go on this campaign to disparage those people, to attack those people. You attack the victim. George Floyd was not here to defend himself.
Right. I'm glad I didn't see, but what did they cross-examine the little girl?
I believe they did, but you know, so much of that defense, and I know, you know, the Chauvin's lawyer was just doing his job.
Yeah.
You know, I don't understand how and I know he did it for the national attention that he got, even though it was a crappy defense. You can't defend the indefensible, but I don't understand how you could defend. I just couldn't do it. I could not defend him. But then again, you know, his attorney is an attorney. That's what they do.
That's what they do. I mean, look, Charles Manson had an attorney, Jeffrey Dahmer. It's them people out there that they will represent those type of people, you know, but we know that this is going to happen again. Unfortunately, it's already happened. In the same
county, no less.
Right. But that's because they haven't learned a lesson. The police officers, you know, and what kills me is that they're going to start saying, well, he was one bad apple in the bunch. No, he wasn't.
No, there's a culture in that police department and policing in general. There is a culture.
Yes. You know, and the crazy thing about it is I used to work with the police department, and it's a family. Now, you know, they may not like each other, but you're not allowed to fuck with them.
They close ranks around each other.
They do, you know, and that's not, you know, it's a good thing to have somebody's back, but to cover shit up, you know, to not let certain evidence get out. That's you're breaking your own laws.
Exactly.
But they're above that as far in their minds. They're above.
It's like, you know, we asked the question, who polices the police?
Nobody. Because it used to be review boards. There used to be county police departments had citizen review boards, and they slowly disappeared.
Because they have no real power.
And they didn't want them there. They didn't want them pointing out their mistakes. No, you can't do that. But
so I think you raised the question: how do we feel?
Yeah, how do you feel?
I'm grateful that justice prevailed, because I put up a post right when I heard that they were going to announce the verdict, and I was like, please, for once, let justice be served, because we've had so many instances where justice wasn't served, and just this once, I wanted to just see right be right. If it's wrong, call it wrong.
Right.
And I was happy when I heard the verdict, the guilty verdicts, but immediately my mind went to, now we happy about this, and we are. I went to the sentencing. Now,
immediately.
What is this sentencing gonna be like? Right. Because, and I wish they'd have did the sentencing too today. It just did it all.
It just got it over with.
Just got it over with. Because now we gotta wait 2 months. And I think it was strategically done that way, because maybe they think that, the people will stop protesting, they'll stop being out on the streets. Maybe the temperature will dial down. But now you got this other situation with Dante Wright.
Right.
So it ain't finna die down. If anything, it's finna pick up.
Right.
And it needs to pick up, because our people, we need to be out there on the streets. We need to be talking to these elected officials. If they're not going to represent, if they're not going to stick up for our rights, we need to get them out.
We need to get them out.
We need to get them out. And that goes on the state level, the local level, the state level, and at the national level. It's too many people getting paid and we pay these people. And I say it all the time. We send people to the city hall, to the county commission, to the state house. We send them to Congress, and they screw us. Mm-hmm. And we pay their salaries.
Yep.
And they screw us.
And we need to remember that. We are the ones with the power, not them. But we end up giving it to them. Joy Reid said something today, and she made so much sense. Right after the verdict, she said, most of the tickets and fines that are given out by police departments are given in the black communities. We are paying their salaries double, because not only is it coming out from our taxes, it's coming out from our tickets and the fees that they're constantly putting on us. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, then they need to be held accountable, and they should be able to be held accountable by the people. And but how far away from that do you think we are? Do you think that this was like a big victory or just a beginning of a
It's victory? A victory. It is a big victory, because I think it will put other officers, because there are other officers out there just like Chauvin, make no mistake. Right. It will put some of them on notice that maybe we can avoid something like this happening to the next person, because maybe somebody will stop to think now. Right. This is why we need that George Floyd Policing Act bill to pass through Congress. We need to put heat on Congress, specifically the Senate.
Yes.
To get that legislation passed. And, I would like to say
it needs to be number one.
It needs to be I would like to say that this is going to be the start of a big movement. I'm skeptical, though, because of the folks that we have in office, and not just on the national level, on our state houses, too. Right here in Florida, we just had a bill. The governor just signed a bill that basically, if you protest, people can run you over, and not be charged.
Yep. Yeah, and it's all because of George Floyd and what.
And he did just like Kemp. He sat in a room surrounded by white people, and signed a bill into law that is designed to primarily hurt people of color. Mm-hmm. And we're supposed to be all right with that.
So my question is this, though. So if the KKK have a rally and I decide to run one of them over, is this all right? Huh?
And if they get violent, they start destroying property, I presume they should go to jail. That's what the law says.
Right. Yeah. So is this a two-sided law or a one-sided law? But you know what? You're coming in on my freedom of speech. Mm-hmm. You are breaking the my freedom of speech. So what? So I can't protest? Come on. But it's okay. They do what they want to do. I can't.
I'll tell you this much: stay out the street.
Yeah. Because they may say, well, it was 3 of them. I thought they was protesting, so I was afraid for my life, so I ran them over. But we're seeing this happening in some way, shape, or form all over the country. Georgia just passed that that voting law where if I walk up and give somebody a bottle of water, they can arrest me and put me in jail. If they're standing in line to vote, there's one more way to take away rights from black people. You know, now we have this law here that DeSantis has done. So it's almost like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Mm-hmm. Are we allowed to enjoy this?
We have to enjoy. We have to take time to acknowledge this victory. We have to take time to acknowledge the significance and the symbolism of today. And because it needs to be motivation to continue the fight.
Right.
You know, we got Dante Wright. We got we got this little 13-year-old boy that was gunned down. Right. We got incidents that happen like this all over this country. Right here in St. Petersburg, how many murders we don't have, killer shootings we don't have this year? What, 13, 14?
Yeah.
Just this year alone.
That may be on the reserve side. So
we need that kind of movement right here in this city.
Yeah. We have to come together as a people. You know, you have to look back at civil rights movement. The way that they came together, the way that they band together to get the things done. Yeah, we just update what they did, but we need to do that. We can't. We're not going to win this in individual silos. Mm-hmm. We're not going to make a difference in individual silos. You know, the woman who killed the other gentleman from there. What was her name?
The officer.
The officer.
Is it Porter? Is it Kim Porter? What's her name?
Is it?
All I know is I'm calling her next.
So next. So next, it's come out that she's been involved in some other questionable shootings.
Just like Chauvin.
Yeah, just like him.
And wasn't she a trainer too, just like him?
I believe so, because she's been there for a while. But see, this is the thing. When I was with the police department, the way that they teach this. So, you know, finding him guilty, yes, great, they found him guilty. It's not going to change the way these officers act, because this, just like when you're in the Army and in the Marines and they drill that stuff into your head, they do the same thing with the police department. This is a mentality that is going to have to be, they're going to have to be untrained, and many of them will not be able to be untrained. And honestly, the ones who
they gotta go.
And the whole system needs to be revamped.
I think what people don't understand is serving the public is a privilege. It's not a right.
Right. Right.
If you abuse that privilege, then you don't deserve it.
The defund the police movement, people didn't completely understand that, but the police need to be defunded. And when you say defund the police, it doesn't mean disband the police. It means take away the monies and the duties that the police don't need to deal with.
Well, y'all governor stopped that in Florida. It ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
That was part of that legislation he just signed.
But so why do you have police officers dealing with the mentally ill when they're not trained to deal with the mentally ill? They get the money for it. Mm-hmm. So take that money away from them and tell them that's no longer, you no longer have to do that. I mean, just a month ago, this family called, and it was what do you do when your family member is acting unstable, and you can call a mental check. They called and asked for a mental check to come out. A wellness, no, not a wellness check, a mental check.
Mental check, okay.
And so they came out, and this guy was bipolar. They came out. They told him he's calmed down. It's okay. You can go. They wouldn't leave. The presence of the police
agitated
him because he was, and they were doing this to him. Where then he started walking. He was pacing. And he turned around and started walking towards them, and they pulled out their guns and they shot him. Because if they were trained to deal with people with mental illness, they would have known what to do, but they didn't know. But they get the money for it, so it's like, okay, we're taking the money. When Reagan and during their Reagan administration, when they closed down all of the mental hospitals and put all those people out on the street, they took that money from those mental hospitals and they redistributed, and a large chunk of it went to police departments. But you gave them the money, but you didn't give them the training. Mm-hmm. There's so many things that the police don't need to be dealing with. Defund them. It doesn't mean that they don't have a job. It doesn't mean we won't have a police force. It means that there'll just be certain things that they no longer take care of. So that means less that they get called for. And if it's less that they get called for, then they won't be stressed. And then they can just concentrate on what they need to concentrate on. Concentrate on people who done went out there and committed crimes and use some money and train them the proper way. But the police departments all over this country need to be defunded. Just understand what that means when you hear that word. It doesn't mean we're going to be a lawless country.
It would be total chaos if we didn't have police.
Right, yeah. I mean, we need that. But it's just certain things they don't need to do. Mm-hmm. It really isn't. You know, I want to get to a point where when a person commits a crime, if it's a white person that commits a crime against a black person, that we know that when they go up in front of a judge and jury, that we know that the right thing is going to happen. I don't think we're anywhere near that. I think that this was a step in a very high staircase.
Yes.
And I don't think I am going to see it in my lifetime. Where we have equal justice. I think I'll see something before I'm gone that makes it a lot better than it was when I first came here. But I don't know if I'm going to see 100% equal justice in my lifetime. And that's sad. You know, we all have something that has happened to us at one time or another when it's dealt with the police. I've had several incidents. The last time I had to deal with them was a few years back on Halloween. That shit still pisses me off when I think about it. You know, the what we went through. I'm sorry.
You know what? I just have to laugh.
The internet is already.
The internet is already at, baby.
They already.
Chauvin, this is your future.
Okay. They are already at it. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we got.
You see how nervous he looks,
right? So we have a couple of comments online. When we were talking about defunding the police, Dontrell said it's all about terminology. People take the word defund in the literal sense, which is true. We just need to learn to use a different word other than defund. And I agree. We do need to talk about taking away, I mean, a better understanding and stop using the word
reallocate
resources, which is still defunding the police. But, you know, it makes people feel better. It's all fluffy and nice. Mm-hmm. But it's I'm still looking at the picture. But so much going on in my head. You know, I shouldn't have to worry about my children. I shouldn't have to worry about my black male friends. I shouldn't have to worry about, you know, because I know that when we leave here tonight, we have a better chance of getting stopped by the police than a white person that's actually committing a crime. Mm-hmm. And that's sad, but that's the way they've been trained. When they see us, when they see the color of our skin, we are a walking crime as far as they're concerned. Mm-hmm. And it takes away, and don't get me wrong, when I say so I was in my room doing some work, and all of a sudden I heard this screaming downstairs in my living room. And it was my mother. And she was screaming to the top of her lungs, and she was screaming, "Thank you. Yes, God. Yes." And it was because she heard about the verdict. It was, "Thank you. You did the right thing. I'm so," and it was funny because I looked out the window and she was yelling loud enough that the people outside could hear her. And it was this white couple walking past. Now, they probably didn't know what she was yelling about, but they kind of turned around and they looked. And I remember that's what made me think about, you know, when the whole thing happened with OJ, and people were happy that OJ got off, you know, and white people got upset.
The glove didn't fit.
Hey, so they had to quit. Look, but I was watching the news media, and there was groups of people, and they were interviewing him, and they walked up to this one white man, and they asked him, while he was there, and he said, I'm here because this incident that happened with George Floyd made me realize that I have lived a life of privilege, and I realized what that actually meant. And I don't know what to do to help, but my life of privilege is not fair. And it takes a lot for a white person to stand up on national news and say something like that. Mm-hmm. But he did, and he genuinely wanted to know, what can I do? And he said a friend of his said, go down to the courthouse right now. Go down there and be with all of those people. And it was a mix. It was mostly African American people, but there was a mix of white people in there too. Mix. And right before I left to come to the studio, they were showing a group of people who had made a circle, and it was all these people dancing in the middle of the circle. Yes. And like 3 of them were white and like 4 of them were black, and they were dancing, they were celebrating. Uh-huh. And and I was sitting here where I understand the celebration, but there's going to be some people who are going to look at that and say, how dare they?
Well, here's the thing. We are celebrating George Floyd's life. We're celebrating justice for his family.
Right.
And some people they're just not going to relate because they choose not to.
Right.
Maybe because if your skin is a different color, privilege. You haven't experienced this.
Right.
So to some people, they're numb to it.
And they don't understand what it felt like to hear guilty on all charges.
And that's what I was talking about earlier with trauma. We have, as a race, we have dealt with so much trauma in this country. We have dealt with so much. We've had to always push down so much. We've had to swallow our pride so many times. We've had to push down humiliation. We've had to push down being treated as a underclass. We've had to push down the microaggressions that we get from white people
on the daily basis
in the workplace or anywhere else we are.
Yeah.
That is exhausting. That is draining.
Carl has a saying, and I've made it to put on a t-shirt. It says, I'm tired. I've been black all day. And that right there sums up our lives. It's like, it's exhausting. It kills us. Literally.
Mm-hmm. It does.
It literally kills us.
Why you think we got so much high blood pressure and everything else? Because we deal with so much.
So much. They have tied so much back to racism. Low birth weights, low early births in women, and it's not just women who live in the hood. Lawyer making 6-7 figures, still having issues. But it don't matter how much money you got. It don't matter where you live. But if the color of your skin means you have to deal with all of the things that you just said, it affects us in so many ways.
I talked about a situation where I had to deal with somebody through work, a white woman that is entitled and felt that she could talk to me and people that look like me any kind of way. And if you know me, you know that's not going to fly.
It's not going to work.
And I got with this. She called some of the high ups, asked for a meeting. Okay, no tea. Because I'm going to stand on what I said.
Right.
But it's that constant. It's the constant aggression. And a lot of times aggression is not, that's when I say microaggressions, it's not always bodily. It's not always physical. It's the constant things that you have to deal with as a black man or a black woman in this country from white people. And not all white people. No. Don't get me wrong. Not all white people.
But enough.
But enough of them.
Enough of them. And for there have been several situations at work, but the one that pops up into my mind is we were having a meeting, and it got a little heated. It was a large group of us, and one of the young ladies who was white, she got all emotional, voice raised a little bit. She was crying. Then when a black woman went to say her part and was the same way, her voice was a little loud. She got emotional and she started crying. The white superior in the room told her to calm down and stop attacking.
See, that's what, when they get like that, it's all right.
It's okay, but
It's
when we
okay.
get like that, we're attacking.
We're angry. We're aggressive.
We're being a bitch.
Yeah.
You know, with all of these things. And I mean, when I say that these two incidents happened within seconds of each other, and when the white girl was emotional and crying and doing it, everyone,
Like, did you tell her to calm down?
and then of course when you say that, then it was like, well, what do you mean? And then the superior gets upset. Because then everybody was like, but whoa, wait a minute. How you saying she's attacking her when she's just acting the same way the other one was acting? But then at that point, the superior then feels like she's being attacked. So it still gets turned back around on the brown folks.
At that point, she would have been.
But these are the things that we have to deal on a daily basis. And I feel that, in my opinion.
Look at Dontrell said, like, we the motherfucking help.
Look, but you know what? In my opinion, I think it's fine that we celebrate that those people, the way they were dancing, the joy that you saw on those people's faces, the hugging, all of that we saw on the news before we came here is okay.
It's all right.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
I
feel
encourage it.
Yes, and don't feel guilty. You and you're right. I love what you said. You said that we are celebrating his life. We are celebrating
Justice for his family.
justice for everything. But you know, they said Al Sharpton said that when he was in one of the meetings with the family, his daughter, George Floyd's daughter, said, "My daddy's going to change the world." And she's right. And he is. He is the beginning of that change. And that is what we're celebrating. That is what we're honoring. Not only him, but all of those people who did not get justice.
Uh-huh.
And if we sat here and started reading off their names, we would be here for another hour or two.
Yes.
But we all know who they are. You know, Sandra Bland, you know, Castillo. I mean,
Trayvon Martin.
all of them. Before, you know, and Trayvon's kicked it off because right after Trayvon, that's when the Black Lives Matter. But we know that this stuff was happening way before Trayvon Martin.
Way before.
You know, and one of the things, if you want to see and you want to feel the impact, go to the lynching museum in Birmingham and see. They have, and the one for Pinellas County has been brought here. So if you live in St. Petersburg, it's downtown. Go see it. It's only 2 names on it. But what they did was they did extensive research on all of the counties all over America. And they found out the names, or at least the numbers, of people who were lynched in these counties. And some counties, like what county is Lake City in?
Lake City is... Damn, what county is Lake City? Somebody, what county is Lake City in the comments?
I think Lake City's column is quite full. You know, some counties...
Well, that's redneck country.
Right. But some counties in the United States got 2 columns because so many people got lynched. Sometimes there's if you want to understand the injustice, go to that museum. It's the most powerful thing because they make 2 columns for every county. One that actually hangs up to look like a lynched body, and then they made a whole bunch of them that's sitting in the grass. Mm-hmm. And what they wanted was for people all over this country to say, we're going to bring this to our county to say this person was lynched. And Pinellas County was one of the first in the country to do it. It happened in January. But we cannot forget the names of those people. We can never forget the names of George Floyd, Trayvon Martin, Sandra Bland, and all of the other ones that we can name. We just cannot forget them. And please don't feel that it is wrong to feel a sense of relief and a sense of joy that man was found guilty.
I don't wish anything bad on anybody, even Chauvin. But I mean, but you reaping what you sowed.
Yeah.
All you doing is getting back what you put out into the universe.
Payback.
So payback's a bitch.
Yeah, because you know this wasn't the first time you did something like this.
So now you just reaping what you sowed.
Yes.
So that's the law of reciprocity.
Columbia County. Thank you, Don.
Columbia, yeah, yeah. That's the law of reciprocity. What you put out is going to come back. There's an equal reaction for everything you do.
Yes. I told my son, there's everything you do. There's a consequence to every action.
So I have no sympathy for him
at all. And what happens to him. You know, I don't wish anything, and hopefully he'll learn from this. But if he don't,
he ain't finna learn, because he would have to be deprogrammed. So you're not finna deprogram somebody like that. You're not gonna rehabilitate somebody like that. He is who he is.
So I know we could probably talk about this a little bit longer, but I want to say karma all the way.
That's
I agree.
Right, J-Mar.
That's right. Karma all the way.
Karma that bitch to the penitentiary.
Thank you to the Velvet Missionary. It was so glad to be back on the mic, and nice to be back on the mic with you. And I want to say thank you for listening to Taboo Talk on Power Plug Radio.
You're listening to Power Plug Radio.